Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the FKA podcast. This is the second series, and I am Olubusola Falabi. With me here is Isaac Olaunsimileng, the co-founder of Finite Africa, and I would let him do some introductions.
Thank you, Busola. So yes, I'm the co-founder of Free Knowledge Africa, and it's been a couple of years since we started this, and like you rightly said, this is the second series of the podcast. We left it for a while, and now we are back. So yeah, thank you, Busola.
Thank you. So, 5 years ago, Finite Africa started because we realized that African knowledge needed to be freely accessible and African communities needed the tools to make it happen. So, in today's episode, we're going to talk about the assumptions that we made at the beginning, the moments where we almost gave up, what we got right, what we got wrong, what that has taught us, and where SK is headed in the next few years. So the first thing I'll ask Isaac is this. So take me back to the moment where Finite Africa became real in your mind. So was there a specific moment or was this something that was gradually building up? Was this an idea or something you just knew, yeah, we needed to build this? So what was the gap you saw that made you think, yeah, Finite Africa needs to happen?
So yeah, thank you, Busola, for that question. So how did we get to the point where Free Knowledge Africa became an idea and we started working on it? So it's just been a desire to know more and to learn more. But as I discovered over the years, I noticed that there were knowledge gaps on different topics, on different places. Sometimes this was intentional, other times it was not intentional. It was just as a result of different factors that has led to the knowledge gaps. So many times I wanted to read about Nigeria, different parts of Nigeria. I wanted to explore the country, but I found that a lot of times there was limited information available online. When you search, you don't get enough data or enough information on what you're looking for. So that was really the start of this whole journey. So back then, Daniel Obiokeke started the Wikimedia Club at the university in 2018. I believe
Yeah.
so, and I joined, and then we were editing Wikipedia, and it felt great to actually contribute to closing the knowledge gaps about Nigeria, about Africa. So that was really the starting point. Then it became more crystallized because of the way Wikipedia works and the wider knowledge ecosystem works based on facts, based on published information to create new knowledge. So we discovered that we're not doing that well as a country or as a continent in terms of making information readily available and accessible online. Most times you have to go to a library somewhere, and the libraries too were not performing optimally because of poor funding and other institutional factors. So it's just a myriad of these different factors that led to making Free Knowledge Africa like a real idea. So yeah, that's it.
Oh yeah. So I think it's safe to say Finland Africa started from the Wikimedia fan club, University of Ilorin, because sometimes you realize some of this gap and then you don't know how critical it is until you're in there and then you are personally working on this and you realize that wow, I mean we knew it was bad, but we didn't know it was this bad. So back to the first days of Finite Africa, did you have like a timeline in mind? Do you think, okay, by the first year, by the end of the first year, we're gonna do this. By the end of the fifth year, we're gonna do this. Like, what did you think it was going to be like exactly? And who do you think Finnish Africa was established for exactly?
So the very first few years, we were just a community of people editing. Like it was just, how would I explain it? It was just like we had this passion to put out as much as possible information on African knowledge. So we had some contests back in the day on Explore Nigeria where we were working on travel guides to help people find information to navigate the nation. I mean, things are much better now in terms of technology, AI, and you can easily just generate a travel guide for yourself. But back then it was not the case. So we also creating content in local languages on on Hausa Wikipedia, Yoruba Wikipedia, Igbo Wikipedia. So it was just that desire to have as much information as possible. We're covering, so we all know the big stars, the Super Eagles, the the Nigerian basketball players. We all know the guys at the top of their game, but there were also guys in the feeder system, maybe the All African Games, the West African Football Cup. So there were other like not too major competitions out there that we also focused our attention on, which was part of the gap. So because some people when they get into like the big league or the big stage, they definitely get featured. Everybody knows them, their stories are covered. But there were others who were going through the system or who had gone through other parts of the system that were not maybe because of the level of prestige attached to those levels. They were not covered. So we also focused on like getting those people documented and we created Wikipedia articles on them online. Sometimes we're able to get their pictures and make it available on Commons. I mean, with their consent, of course. So it was just passion, right? To like get the problem solved as much as we could. And then that was like in the first 2, 3 years. But the more we did that, the more we also realized the factors, the institutional challenges that we were dealing with that made it difficult to just document everything. I mean, if the knowledge institutions, that is the GLAMs, were doing their work as much as they should and making it readily available as they should, it would have been much more easier to just get the knowledge from them and make it available online. It should have been like a easier or a much more straightforward pathway, but that was not the case. So we started rethinking our approach, and I would say that we are still in the rethinking approach. We are trying to bring together organizations. We are thinking of not just doing it by ourselves, but trying to gather other players in the ecosystem, the GLAM institutions themselves, the knowledge people in the knowledge ecosystem that are interested in issues like these, people that are like interested in history, people that are interested in getting data, people that are interested in the open knowledge space and getting like information from the public domain and making it readily accessible, people that don't just want our history, our institutional knowledge to just disappear or just be lost, people that want to understand the present from the lens of the past and to predict what the future might hold and how to like address some of the problems we're also facing as a country. So Free Knowledge Africa is essentially for people who are concerned, who believe that knowledge is power, who believe that knowledge should be kept, should be preserved, should be made accessible, and that opportunities exist in unlocking the knowledge that we already have, that we can create from what we already have. So, and it cuts across many things. Our lens has been more of culture and history, but there's also science, there's technology, there's so much to cover. Knowledge cuts across all sphere of life. So, I think that's been my experience in these past few years. Thank you.
Yeah. So staying on that, I know every founder usually have assumptions or realities they see before they go into saying, okay, yes, I want to do this. So at the beginning, what were the assumptions you made? And this would be like a two-in-one question. So from those
Yeah.
assumptions, what did you get really wrong? And what were the things that you got surprisingly right? Like I would really love to hear about that.
So our assumptions was that people would be definitely be interested in just contributing information to like the open knowledge space to Wikipedia, Wikidata, Wikimedia Commons. But then I think the reality is that we encountered really disabused us of that assumption because it was very challenging just getting people to contribute without any form of incentive, like, oh, just let's do this, it's great, let's do this. People agree, but then people are going through different issues in life, people are trying to get jobs, people are trying to go through school. So many issues. Internet is unreliable, it's expensive. So all those little issues made it much more difficult to just run with our assumption that, oh, once we get
People,
this and we do this, we will get this. So there was that challenge that, yeah, we just needed to like get people on board and run contests, run campaigns, and we get all that we need. So that was one of the challenge we faced. Also one of the assumptions that we quickly realized that, oh, this is not going to work this way. We need to like try to build a sense of community. We need to like try to get people to see the bigger picture. We need to give people prizes, incentivize people, and also ensure that people are doing it for the right reasons. So that was one of the assumptions that we held on to at the very start, that this is what we just needed to do and we'll continue in doing this. Then another assumption is that we could just create everything on Wikipedia. So Wikipedia is like a layer of knowledge that relies on secondary sources to to write on articles or put out information on Wikipedia. So one thing we realized was that it was really hard to get these secondary sources for a lot of topics. So Wikipedia has a notability criteria where you just once a subject, in this case, could be a person, could be a place, could be an event, could be anything actually. But once it matches the notability criteria, it's allowed to have an article on the Wikipedia main space. That is like having a Wikipedia article. But then, because of the global north-south divide and the digital divide as well, we find it really hard to put out a lot of information on Wikipedia. So most times articles are rejected because they did not meet the notability criteria. I mean, we all know as Nigerians, this stuff is notable. It's a major thing that happened that should be recorded and documented, but Wikipedia will say no. I mean, not Wikipedia itself, the admins or the reviewers will say no, that it doesn't meet the notability criteria. And from their own perspective, they are right because it doesn't
Mm.
actually meet the notability criteria due to the fact that we did not have secondary sources that we could cite
That's
to prove that it meets the notability criteria. So that was another issue another assumption that was trashed quickly as soon as we started that, oh, it's not that straightforward. You need secondary sources. And that was why we pivoted into digitization of old newspapers, digitization of materials in the public domain, anything that could really help. We believe Wikipedia is a very valuable resource. It's an open knowledge layer where the largest one in the world, where billions of people are accessing to get free, open, and accessible information, but to better like put information out there within their secondary sources. So that has been a slight pivot in the way we do things. So we essentially digitize public domain materials, newspaper, gazettes, just to like have sources that could be used by people when they are creating articles on Wikipedia. So that's another major lesson that we've learned. Then the last one I will share is the power of community and collaboration. I mean, we're a team and organization, but there's just so much we can do at this stage, and we've learned the power of collaboration with other organizations and other professionals to get things done. We've built partnership with the Nigerian Institute of Advanced Legal Studies. We've built partnerships with archiving, and we are also like working on some things with the National Library that we are still working on, and all these are as a result of some frustrations we got during the process that, oh, we can't do it all by ourselves. We need to lean on the shoulder of others. And that's why we're also starting something unique, the Access to African Knowledge Hub, which is like a place for other stakeholders within the ecosystem for us to work together and preserve our knowledge and make it accessible. So that is one thing we're really prioritizing now. And we also like building the public domain.ng, where we have all these public domain materials that we digitized posted. And then we're also trying to like gather other materials that are already online that are also in the public domain that the copyright have expired, to bring them together, because you might be looking for some things. It might be in another part of the internet. It might be on Twitter. It might be in an archive in Germany. So these materials are also scattered all over the place. So what we are trying to do is to gather them together and make it accessible and make it really like easily findable. I mean, using the FAIR policy, findable, accessible, interoperable, and I've forgotten what the R means. So we are trying to like use that approach to make things easier for people. So yeah, thank you, Tola.
yeah. So you've touched a lot about what it actually is, what Finage Africa is doing. Because I mean, you hear Finage Africa and you think, oh yeah, that's a non-profit. I mean, from the name, you're trying to spread African knowledge. but like what actually goes behind the scene in doing this, and then you've touched on all of that. Thank you for that. So I think my next question would be: was there ever a moment in the last 5 years that you thought FK is not going to work out? Like, did you ever come close to walking away from this you have built in the? Because I am, I mean, I am a first-hand party to a lot of frustrations that we have faced trying to get African knowledge accessible. But did there ever come a time where you just thought this may not work? I mean, we are still here, so obviously you didn't go through that. That never happened.
Yeah, of course, it always happens with any project, any vision where you get frustrated by forces, external forces that
You have to
sometimes
actually.
internal forces that you're
Mm,
trying to like, let's work on this together. Of course, many times that happens. I mean, it could be funding, it could be the partnerships. Some partnerships are not working out. Sometimes partners just pull out all of a sudden, and you're left wondering how to get things together. So then there was the very challenging one, which I think the entire country also faced, the economic crisis that started in, I think about 2 or 3 years ago with the whole exchange rates, things getting very expensive, cost of living, cost of digitizing, public domain materials, cost of organizing events, cost of flights. I mean, before we used to travel much more frequently for outreach, but right now, I mean, I don't think we can't afford that anymore. So it's also like, yeah, there are many issues here and there that are really like making it difficult to press on and just move forward. So I think yeah, there have been many moments like that where it's just like, oh, this again, how do we get this done? Oh, there's not enough budget. How do we train enough people? People are not contributing, and then we have to like just rethink our approach and change things around both within our internal operations and the way we deliver our training and get people to do things. So we used to give a lot of prizes before, but then it was becoming gamified in a negative way. People just messing up, not contributing in a positive, excellent way, but just trying to like stack up the numbers just to win the prize. So we have to like change our approach to that. I mean, we actually stopped for a while to rethink our approach and then see how we can make things better. So there's been many times, and then there's been times where we made mistake, maybe with a participants, and then we have to like correct it all over again. So those are like the issues that have come up that have been like, oh, maybe we should just get off at this bus stop and then someone else will take over. But then it's also been like the vision. It's a compelling vision to see like knowledge. I mean, people say knowledge is power, and I believe when people know better, they will do better. So what you don't know is like your master. It's like it's like your manager. It's leading you around and you don't even know it. So we believe that there's so much to do. There are libraries to revitalize. There's knowledge that is supposed to be made open and available. There's just so much to do, and that vision, I think, is what just maybe me personally keeps me like, oh, yeah, I think we can do this. No matter what comes up, we'll pivot, we'll find another way. Let's do it this way. Let's find another opportunity to get it done. Let's consider building partnerships with other organizations. And I mean, what we've done with public domain in Nigeria is actually, I think it's one of like our greatest achievements today that just like, wow, we actually did that. We've raised awareness about it. We've digitized, I think, over 5,000 copies of different public domain materials, newspaper pictures. People are reaching out to us saying, thank you. I was trying to get this, so I'm looking for this in the 1980s, in the 1970s. And yeah, that feels good because that's the great part of it. So that's also like, it helps us look away from like the negative aspect of it and keep forging ahead and keep doing it. And if we could have achieved this in the past 5 years, I think there's just so much we can achieve in the future. So those are some of the challenges that have come up in the past and that have been tough, but then we've had to like just look forward and see what we could build out. So that's it really. I mean, that's what really comes to mind right now when I think about it. I don't think about it too much like that actually. I mean, it happens once in a while and I just like I think about it in the moment and then make sense of it and then just forge ahead and keep doing what we've been doing and learn from the challenges that have sprung up and make improvements and do better. So yeah.
A good thing we have been able to walk through that. And then just on the flip side, because you did touch on that about some of the achievements that we've had. I'm very sure, I know there was a period of time where someone reached out and said they had lost a lot of their family's historical documents during the Civil War, and then they were so glad they were able to get online from some of the works we have digitized, and like they were just really appreciative. So just, I mean, you have touched on some of these points, but what are some of the things in the last 5 years that you have achieved and you're like, yes, this is exactly what FKA is for. This is why we built FKA. So if you could just give like one a moment or two that just reinforce and help to overcome the times you felt frustrated. So like on the flip side.
Okay, so I mean, looking back, looking at the amount of articles we've created through our different contests and campaigns in the past, it's just impressive that wait, if we had not done this, are you saying that the over 10,000 Wikipedia articles on like the English, Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba articles that have been created would not have been created? And the amount of visibility that those different subjects, people, events, places, incidents, that the visibility they've gained, the knowledge that has been transferred to other people, to the world, not just to Nigeria, because people from other all parts of the world are checking out these things, would not have been there. So that was one like wow. You can, I mean, they say that you can do great things from small places, and that was like really inspiring. And then one thing that really actually stood out for me was just this small pilot training we had last year for open education in Nigeria. I mean, we had people from Nigeria. Most of the participants were from Nigeria. I think we have had like two or three people from Uganda and maybe one person from the UK. But the training was like the best training we've ever delivered. We helped people to see. I mean, that was the first time we did something on open education, and we were able to teach people about the restrictions, the licenses. We were able to teach people why open education is valuable, is important, and we had like a high attendance. People found it valuable. Like different teachers joined from all over, all different parts of Nigeria and outside Nigeria. And then we were able to give people some seed funding to create some open educational resources, and everybody delivered. We had someone do something on French. We had someone do something on traditional medicine. We had someone do something on counseling. We had someone do something on children learning guides, and that was like really, really, really great to see. And some of the participants from those events are still some of our very vibrant participants to date, offering value, helping us to like taking the knowledge we've impacted into them forward. So that was really, really inspiring to it was inspiring to have done that actually as a team to have delivered that training. And I mean, we do it again this year and hope to reach more people and impact more people. And I think the last one I'll share was like building out public domain.ng. So a lot of times the files are available, but it's difficult to find, it's difficult to get insight from them, it's difficult to or have them in a structured and organized way. So I think what we did with public domain.ng was to help people interact with this work. I mean, thanks to generative AI, we help people see how they could ask questions, and then the relevant materials just pop out immediately, and they could also engage specific questions to this material. So that was wonderful to have, and it's something we're also like really thinking of improving with the whole. Apart from the ones we've digitized, all these different other works in other places. I mean, recently I observed that Smithsonian had about I think 7,000 works, public domain works that are like from Nigeria. So there are many other institutions and archives and libraries that have these works all over the place that we can bring together and make people find them easily. So we are also thinking of that and seeing how we can build this platform for people to like engage with history, engage with what has happened in the past, and see what they can put together from there and just offer value to people. So that has been great to see, and then and creating knowledge from knowledge is another part. So we recently had people cropping out images from these old newspapers. And that was like just mind blowing again that, oh, we can actually create knowledge from the existing knowledge. And that was also like inspiring, seeing some people in the 40s that were young activists and how they grew up. So there's just so much you can do with that kind of knowledge. There's just so much sense making you can do with that kind of knowledge, research, and like all these like disability studies where you can map out people's journey. There's just so much that can be done. So yeah, really glad that we are making impact in this way. And I mean, we hit 5 years recently this January, and it's been amazing. So really thinking of ways we can do more and always ensure that the positives overwhelm or overshadow the negatives.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that is always the goal. And then you just mentioned now that we did 5 years this January, which is really impressive. And so at the very beginning, the questions that you had in your mind when you thought FKA needed to happen, 5 years in, do you think those, first of all, do you think those were the right questions? And then do you think to some extent we have answered those questions?
I would say those questions are still valid. Knowledge is like very much important. It's important for people to be able to find knowledge when they are even seeking for knowledge. So I think there's also that part. So I think what we've discovered is like it's important for the knowledge to be available. Knowledge is neutral. People decide to do what they want to do with it, either to use it, ignore it, or not. So I think that's another thing that I'm discovering that it's just great to have it. That the people who need it will find it and use it. And that sometimes the hindrances to like accessing knowledge in the way it currently exists is hindering people from engaging it with it as much as they should. And sometimes people don't even know their history. So we just said, oh, this happened in the 80s, this happened in 1950. And people are like, really? That happened? And it's just like a shock to them that that could have happened. So I believe more than ever, knowledge is really critical and it's one of the most important things we can put out there for Nigeria, for Africa, for people, young people especially, because right now 70% of the African population are like young people. The upcoming generation, people that are growing, they need to have that knowledge. They need to be able to engage with that knowledge and make like the right actions with it. So I believe that is something that is important. That has not changed at all. It's even become stronger for me that yes, we need to have it there. But what people decide to do with it depends on them. That's another thing that not everybody cares, not everybody is looking out for knowledge, but that having it available is important. Another thing, question that that's probably shifted a bit is that how do we get this done? I mean, we can't get it done alone. Knowledge is so vast. That's the truth. It's so vast, we can't get it done alone, and we need as much people as possible to do it in different ways. It could be through the journalistic approach. It could be through like authors. It could be through the glams, the galleries, libraries, archives, and museums. It could be through exhibitions. It could be through different ways. But the most important thing is that it gets done. So yeah, we are still like really committed to getting this done, but we believe that the question now is that how can we get as many people to be involved in these individuals, organizations, corporate sponsors? How can people play a part in ensuring that knowledge is preserved, is made accessible, is documented? So it's not just a thing that we are just trying to do by ourselves. I mean, there's the whole international part, people organizations giving grants. How can we do it locally? How can we do it within the country? How can we get universities to play their part? How can we get the government to play their part better? Not just the federal government, the state government, the local government. How can we get other non-profits, other social enterprises to play their part? How can we get entrepreneurs to do something within the knowledge economy? How can we make this really work out for everybody involved? I mean, there are like a lot of dissertations and theses at universities that are just there. I mean, there's a lot of value that can still be gotten from some of them, not all of them, some of them. There are some of the data collected in those reports could be useful. So there's just so much that needs to be done, and raising awareness about this is also important, and also ensuring that we get it done as a collective. I think that's what has really shifted that. So if you want to do this well, we need to do it as an ecosystem, as a group, as a collective. And they say that if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So I think that's one thing. Those are like some of the few things that have shifted.
Yeah. We've spoken a lot about the last 5 years. So in rounding up, I would just say, so 5 years from now would be 2031. So where do you envision Finland Africa to be in the next 5 years? And what are the things you think would need to change or to be programmed that structurally, operationally, culturally? So this is like a people thing, a funding thing, a capacity thing. So where do you think FK would be, and what are the things that will be needed to make sure we are there in the next 5 years?
Wow. Next 5 years, 2031. Wow. Looks far away, but I feel like it's also very close. So I believe in the next 5 years, we should have like a policy. I believe we should have a policy for GLAMs, for libraries, the National Library, the public libraries, the private libraries. We should make knowledge accessible. I mean, we are doing our part, we are trying to document and digitize, but the ones that are coming out, we should be able to make it accessible, like the digital access to those materials. We be able to make it accessible. It should not be more of a, it tends to be more digitally accessible. I think that's just one thing that will make everybody's life easier. It will create new opportunities to digitize what we have, to make it accessible, and people will be able to better or easily find those works usable. So how can we get libraries, galleries, libraries, archives, and museums to do this better in the coming years? That's one thing I think we should be thinking of. And then how can we get our history all digitized and preserved for future? Because many times they get damaged due to the storage conditions. How can we get the information in the archives available online? Like there's just so much in those institutions. I believe millions of works, report, different things that there. How can we get it online? How can we get people to also how can we get people to like also can we have a platform where people can just upload like things from the past that they have and then we can just make sense of it. So those are some of the things that readily come to mind, that making sure that we do not lose some of these materials and that we are able to have them preserved. So I would say those are like the top two things that comes to mind. And then how can we make libraries available? Libraries are not just places where you read books, they are places for more research, work. You could print there, I mean, libraries should have a business model that makes them sustainable. How can we get more libraries out there to ensure that in the community, people can also just go to a place and read, pick different books and not just necessarily buy digital access alone. So how can we ensure we have more libraries in our community, that every community has a library? How can we ensure that organizations, businesses set up libraries, fund libraries, or they can even call them community centers where we have libraries available and people can just learn, people can grow, people can improve themselves, adults can learn, children can learn, teenagers can learn, everybody can learn. So I think that's those are some of the things that we think of in another 5 years that we've played a role in, we've championed, and we've helped deliver, and that we have a platform where you can access public domain works available to everybody. I think that, I mean, we have like 5,000 works now. I mean, could we have, I'm not trying to place a cap on the number, could we have as much as possible everywhere online? We're just ingesting these works and making it also available. So that's another thing that comes to mind, and people are able to like access history, access data, and then we have more open data available from all these different pieces of information that we have gathered and worked on, and we are better. We have more people talking about it. We have more people sharing this knowledge, reading this knowledge, talking about this knowledge, preserving this knowledge by their own will due to what we've done. So yeah, those are some of the things that come to mind for the next 5 years. So how we can preserve what we have, revitalize the libraries, either by advocacy, by partnership, by funding. I mean, funding is really critical. We have more CSR initiatives for knowledge sake. I mean, people talk a lot about sports, about entertainment, about this, about that, but knowledge is also like really, really important. So could we have that revitalization of our knowledge institutions?
Yeah, this has been a really insightful session, seeing where FK started from, where it is right now, what has gone really well, and where we know that there are a lot of areas for improvement. So, last question would be, sitting here 5 years into the journey, what are you feeling right now? In terms of pride, excitement, exhaustion, or all of the above all together? So,
All
what are
of
you
the
feeling?
above, actually. It's all of the above. So it's all of the above. I mean, it's been great to do this. I mean, alongside every member of the team, the co-founders, the our trustees, our board of our advisory board, everybody has played one role or the other, and then we even have informal advisors that we've not appointed formally who guide us and help us. So it's been great to actually do this. And then it's been challenging to do this as well. I think we have to admit that it has been challenging. It's not been a straightforward road. It's been bumpy. It's been a mix of different things. So, but we are here, and it's good to be here. So we can admit that it's been challenging, but we're also like really proud of what we've done. Of people that are finding what we've done very valuable. Of people that are taking the skills they've learned to do all sort of things with their life. That is also great. So it's just everything together. But how can we do this better? How can we do this in a more sustainable way? How can we do this with people giving us more rather than we always like, I mean, the time we spend trying to get funding, if funding is coming in consistently, how can we focus our attention more on doing the work in itself? How can we build more relationships, build more partnerships, and to actually, how can we communicate this better? Because sometimes when you start talking about public domain, open licenses, people are already lost. So, and sometimes that can be challenging because it's valuable when they eventually get it, but they are wondering what you're talking about. So how can we do all of that better? So it's just a mix of everything. And how can we operate better? How can we use this? How can AI make the work better for us in what we do? So those are some of the things, but I mean, the outlook is really optimistic that we'll do better and we will surpass all our current achievements, and that we will do better in terms of partnership, in terms of collaboration, in terms of community, even getting people to become members and becoming advocates. We will do better. So that's the feeling.
Thank you so much for this. Thank you for starting Finage Africa and for this conversation. I think anyone who is trying to build something with an organization or trying to create change in their own corner of the world would hear themselves in this. So this has been a really wonderful conversation with Isaac Oloruntunlen, co-founder of Finage Africa. If you want to follow Finage Africa's work, learn about access to African Knowledge Hub, or connect with us, you can find everything at finageafrica.org. And if this conversation resonated with you, just let us know. We are getting started with the second series of the FTA podcast. You could check out our channels to watch all the episodes of the first series. And so, till we'll meet again on the next episode. Bye.